Information.
How about it? It'll be
Okay.
good for the time capsule someday.
Well, this is Stacy. If I knew you guys were going to record, I wouldn't stay up for it.
Just turn off your camera, then you don't have to worry about it.
But we do like to see your faces. We're going to bring up a shared screen here in just a second to kind of go through everything.
Are we going to be able to share this recording? Some of my people are on the East Coast, so it's too late.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we get it passed out to everybody.
Yeah. Hold on one second, you guys. Give me 1 second.
Hi, happy dog. Okay, can you go find a life? You spend 24/7 with me. Go get a life.
Okay, so we're going to ask that you guys mute if you can. It really helps with all the background noise and so forth. You are more than welcome to ask questions along the way. Please use the chat box. That way we can kind of handle them as we go or towards the end. It just really helps if we have everybody muted except for 3 of us who are going to kind of walk through the model and share our experiences tonight. All right, cool. Looks like everybody's muted. Well done. Let me just go ahead and share the thing here. All right. Oops. Okay, can you guys all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say welcome, everybody. It's so good to see some of your faces. Some are familiar. Some of you guys don't know some of us. You might be new to eXp. You might be just hearing some things. You might have seen some of the model, maybe not all the model. I know that I had to actually see the entirety of the model a few times before it finally really clicked. But we really hope to kind of just share the whole thing and give a lot of our own experiences. So it's we're gonna make some introductions here so you know who it is, because I know a lot of you on the call don't know who I am. Maybe you know who Will is, maybe you know who Wendy is, but we're gonna just talk about who we are, and we're gonna collaboratively kind of explain the model. So welcome to eXp.
Yeah, let's jump right into this. So I want to introduce my dear friend, Wendy Atkinson. I was a longtime broker at Sotheby's International Realty. And at one time I hung my license down in Bend, and I was covering the Portland metro area, and Wendy was my managing broker. And she was incredible for the 5 years that I was at Sotheby's. We ran what was a pilot office in Portland for Sotheby's. And I discovered she's just a phenomenal principal broker. In the time since then, I've learned that she ran 3 of the top real estate brokerages in Central Oregon, Coldwell Banker, which dominated the luxury division for over 20 years in Central Oregon. Then she was hired by Sotheby's and took them from the brink of bankruptcy to #1 in the market. And they still have a pretty dominant position. I think she can be fairly credited for much of that success. And she's been on the Central Oregon Professional Standards Committee for years. She serves on literally on the committees that write the contracts for Oregon that we all use. She's been the president of the Central Oregon Association of Realtors, and she was even Realtor of the Year at one point. She is an absolute advocate of the agent. She loves agents. She's the person you want like in your dugout when you get into trouble. She saved me a number of times, and Ann and I both, we just have the utmost respect for her. I was once told by a coach that I worked with, a very expensive real estate coach. He said, you know, Wendy Atkinson isn't just one of the best principal brokers in Oregon. She's one of the best in the country. And I feel that's absolutely true.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you, Will.
Yeah, well, Wendy's very humble, but she has quite the resume that goes far beyond just the screen right here. So
yeah, we didn't have enough slides for it, actually.
Yeah.
Much of that just simply comes from so many years in the business. So for those of you who don't know me, and a few who know me a little bit, but not too well, I have been in the business since 1985. So 35 years this year, so pretty much my whole life. And I have spent the majority of that time as a managing principal broker, like Will said. So in that 35 years, I've reviewed tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of real estate contracts. And I've been blessed enough to be invited to join in and participate on numerous different committees at the local and state level. So I have been exposed to so many different challenges and so many different ways of doing business that you kind of have to be an idiot to not catch on to how real estate is done with the amount of exposure to the business that I've had. And I very much enjoy what I do. I love that Will said I love the agents, because I do. I love the agents. I love the people I work with. I say all the time, where else can you get up and go to work every day and be surrounded by a group of people who didn't get paid to come in today? And that's who realtors are. They're self-motivated. They're driven. They work hard and they play hard. And I've enjoyed every minute of my 35 years. And I'm proud to be such an embedded part of the Central Oregon community of realtors, especially as this market is shifting and doing crazy things for us all right now. So thank you very much. Will?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and just that you are now at eXp, it's just an honor to have you, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you. And I just always feel so lucky that I can reach out and contact you at any point, because you are so accessible. So thank you for that. And thanks for being on tonight, Wendy, and sharing your experiences too.
I am honored to be on screen with the two of you, and admittedly a little nervous.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I know, right? But I am. I do a lot of teaching. I've been blessed in my career to be invited to teach a lot and to participate in a lot of different volunteer committees and so on. So this is awesome. I can't wait to hear more from all of us.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to say some words about Will, because Will and I go way, way back. In fact, we met at a brokerage called Keller Williams way back during the recession, and have always been friends. And Will went off to something interesting about Will, you guys, he's actually a fabulous musician and comes from a musical background. He also he's a very established writer. He has a passion for that. He worked in LA and New York. He's a writer for the David Letterman show for a while. He's got a wickedly good sense of humor. And, it's funny, we kind of joke with each other quite a bit, but I call him Mr. Luxury, because he's always dealt with high-end properties, and we've always kind of jested back and forth about our businesses and all that. So when he ran off to Sotheby's, I was like, all right, cool, go have at it. He was kind of the guy for Sotheby's for 5 years here locally, until they started kind of planting other branches around. And we've always kind of kept in touch and checked in and whatnot. And actually, Will, I kind of top secretly pulled him aside when I decided to go from Keller Williams to eXp. And he had actually returned back from Sotheby's to KW and he was looking at alternatives as well. But I never thought, that he would be looking at eXp ever, because I thought, he was Mr. Luxury and there was a brand and all these things. But as we'll kind of share a little bit, Will was looking at buying a franchise, and he was exploring Compass Realty. I think a lot of you guys have heard about Compass, and they're not really here in Oregon, but he was kind of meeting with the executives, and I just had a lot of respect for him. So when we were moving, I kind of, was telling him what we're up to, right, Will?
Yeah, I ran into Ann one day, and she said that she was getting ready to make a company move, but she couldn't tell me about it unless I signed an NDA. She actually made me sign a non-disclosure agreement.
I did.
After I first laughed in her face when she told me she was going to eXp, because I was pretty smug about the whole thing. And then she said, well, what do you know about it? And I said, well, I guess I don't know anything. I think the company has a stupid logo, but other than that, I don't really know. And so anyway, she took a lot of time to take me through the business model and introduce me to some people within the company in other areas. And I went from thinking it was the stupidest business model, the stupidest logo and company I'd ever heard of, to being absolutely blown away.
Join the meeting.
Oops. Are we all still connected?
Yeah, you're still good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get into that more, but I went from thinking that's the stupidest company I've ever heard of, and I didn't even know why I thought that, to coming around to feeling like that can't be real. That brokerage model cannot be real. It can't be sustainable. There's no way that's that's real for agents. And then once I did my own due diligence and I discovered it's absolutely real and rock solid, then we couldn't join it fast enough.
Yeah. Yep. And that kind of same was true for Wendy too, right? I mean, you know, Wendy was kind
Absolutely.
of set at KW. I mean, you were in leadership, you were an investor, you know, like there was no.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, when Will was coming to Bend and said, let's get together and have a glass of wine, and I said, oh, great, because I've been wanting to talk to you because you went to that stupid Avatar company, and I want to hear why. I mean,
Well,
that was my perspective.
I want
And
apologize.
he really.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was not in any way, shape, or form planning to recruit me, and yet what he said with such sincerity and heart that it was impossible not to take a harder look at it. So yeah, you're right, Ann.
Yeah.
All right, so this is Ann Stewart. For those of you who don't know, she is one of my best friends in the business and just a great ally. We've been at the same company at times. We've been at different companies at times. It's never really mattered. And I'm sure you guys all have friends like that in the business. She grew up in the business. Her mom's a longtime realtor. She's been doing it almost 20 years herself. She runs a very successful team. At times they've sold as many as 124 homes in a year. She was at the Hassan Company, which many of you know is a very, very fine local boutique company in the Portland metro area and Bend. She was at Keller Williams for 11 years. She was a top agent there. She was on the leadership committee multiple times within Keller Williams, and she joined eXp 2 years ago, and I ran into her when that was taking place. She was just starting that process when, we bumped into each other and that story unfolded that we were just talking about. In that amount of time, in 2 years, she has a group now that has grown through her and with her of over 200 agents. And she's won the highest award for production you can win within the company called the Icon Award. We'll get into that later and explain what that means. But in just 2 years, totally separate from her real estate income that she makes from commissions from her own production and her team, and totally separate from the way that profit sharing works in this company. We call it revenue sharing. She has acquired what today is worth about $156,000 in stock, most of which was awarded to her just for being an agent here, just for running her business on this platform. The stock has been skyrocketing. And so we can talk about that later. But I said to her the other day, it's amazing to just think, to me, it's amazing as a dad to think that her stock alone today would more than pay for her son's college education in 2 years. Like that's real.
Thanks, Will. Well, those are the introductions, and we're going to get into the model here where you guys are going to learn about eXp, which is a national and growing global real estate brokerage. When we talk about the future of real estate, I think we can safely say at this point that, most of us know that this is a cloud-based brokerage. So we basically do all of our services and get all of our resources and everything in our cloud office, very similar to Amazon, Uber, Facebook, Airbnbs, Netflix. We're going to kind of use those analogies because we're all familiar with these companies that are dominating just because they have a platform cloud-based brokerage.
And some of you guys, you might remember Netflix early on. It didn't work the way it does today. They had to send you DVDs. Then the streaming technology caught up, and now it works the way that it was envisioned. eXp is very much the same way. This company's been around almost 11 years, but it's really only within the last 2 to 3 years that I think technology and talent and society, it all kind of hit a critical mass. And now this company is just exploding.
Yep. So we just hit 35,000 agents, I believe, in the last couple of weeks or so, just recently. And I know when I joined, it was just about to hit 15,000 agents. And then Will, I think you joined right about that 15,000 marker-ish.
Yeah, just after that.
Yeah. And Wendy, you came in, what was the?
20,000, right about that a year ago, a little over a year ago.
So Wendy, in your experience, is this a fast-paced company growth? Because you've been at a lot of companies.
Yeah, this is crazy. There's a reason that there is a reason they say we're the fastest growing real estate company in North American history, because it's true. This growth is unprecedented.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear from your experience too, Wendy, because you sat in the, like, you're not selling real estate. You're actually, you've been in management and all that. So you saw this model, and what did you think? Did you think, oh my gosh, this is going to take off? What were your thoughts when you saw it?
My very first exposure to it, which was in 2015, it was just a little foreign for me at that point. I was all about the bricks and mortar, and even as recently as 2015, I think you guys would concur that we still spent a lot of time in the office. I mean, the industry was still just morphing into being more remote, more I still did paper transaction files in 2015. And I like to think that the companies I ran were pretty progressive, but that's how drastically the shift has happened over the last 5 years. So when I was introduced to it again by Will, spring of last year, everything clicked, and I saw it and went, oh my gosh, this is the future of real estate. This is where we need to be.
Yeah. And I felt that same way. I would go into the office, and I would go into the office regularly because I had space there, but it would be just a ghost town.
Yeah,
which is why
that's what was happening.
From the 42nd largest brokerage in the country down to the very largest brokerage in the country. And now that we're opening up the global territories, which we'll kind of talk about, it's going to probably explode very quickly, very soon, right?
Yeah, the company's pushing into new countries all the time, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But this is just a slide here we threw together just to show that this company is agent owned, and it's agent grown. It's literally being grown by its agents because we feel invested in it. We have a stake in it, in this company, like no other company that's ever existed before. And these are just some pictures of mostly local agents from around the Portland area, but not everybody. There's Maria Sims in the lower left-hand corner, is in Hawaii. She's a powerhouse agent in Hawaii.
Got Montana.
Montana is represented here. There's some powerful local agents from Portland and Washington, but this is it's just a sliver. We just put this together just to demonstrate, kind of the eclectic nature of it. But more importantly, this is the founder of the company. Glenn Sanford had been involved in a number of different startups leading up until 2002 when he got into real estate. In his 4th year with real estate, he was with Keller Williams. He was running a massive team that was doing about $60 million in volume. And more importantly, he never wanted to leave Bellingham, Washington. So he was already figuring out that he could have agents in other markets and kind of manage that from a central hub. And that wound up being part of what was kind of the inspiration for eXp years later. But with that, he also realized that it's always the agents that generate all the income in a real estate company. They do all the heavy lifting, as he puts it, but they're never really rewarded proportionately for their contribution relative to like all the people in a franchise system where you've got franchise owners and you've got VPs. You've got this whole structure that has to be serviced, financially with the income that the agents always generate. So in 2009, he founded eXp as the first cloud-based brokerage.
Yep.
And it wasn't by accident. I mean, we'll get into that. It's literally the cloud-based structure of the company is what makes everything else that we're all so excited about possible.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the growth that's happened at eXp has been in the last 4 years. In fact, I'm pretty sure that 90% of our growth has happened in the last 4 years. Very similar to what Wendy said, is like, we still were very much bricks and mortar. When they started eXp in 2009, we were going through the recession. And I don't think, while bricks and mortar was a big cost, and that's one of the reasons why he came up with it, people were just trying to survive to get out of that. And so I think in 2014, 2015, it was just starting to take off. In 2017, we've gone up like a 90-degree curve at eXp because, and I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I hear almost every other week that some bricks and mortar or retail company is going out of business or consolidating or partnering with Amazon. I mean, you can just look in the newspaper every week practically, or newspaper, what am I talking about? Online. God, listen to me. But it feels like you're seeing more and more articles that have to do with, people consolidating and downsizing. So it's very similar to Airbnb. You know, they are a 10-year-old company. They're valued higher than Hilton, which is a 100-year-old company, and they have bricks and mortar, whereas Airbnb does not. So kind of like what you said, Will, about Netflix, you know, we used to drive down and get our videos, and even with, you know, Netflix, it was, you know, mail-in type thing, and they discovered the online platform of streaming, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Well, and then, you know, Toys R Us disappeared. Amazon put them out of business. There are these empty buildings around, you know, we see them all over. I mean, I remember the Borders bookstore that I used to go to that's no longer there. It's fascinating to me that over the last at least 10 years, if not longer, there's been all this conversation in the real estate industry about, you know, which company will be the most disruptive. Is Redfin eventually going to take over? Will Zillow take over? I mean, and those companies have their place, obviously, but I feel like eXp kind of snuck up on people a little bit. It had all these ingredients, you know, working for it. But the big one is the cloud-based brokerage concept itself. So let's get into that a little bit.
And the other thing I want to share really quickly is that maybe you guys don't know this statistic, but in the last 8 months, over 200 independent brokerages aligned themselves with eXp, because independent brokerages have a very tough time keeping the bottom line net profit decent, right? There's a lot of liability. There's a lot of technology they have to cover and pay for. And there's a vice grip on keeping costs down at small brokerages. And eXp is like the Amazon of real estate, because they can hook onto Amazon like all these other companies out there that have said, hey, instead of like trying to work against them, let's just partner with them and let people buy through them. So because they can keep all their branding. So I just wanted to touch on that, because a lot of brokerages are moving on to the eXp platform to operate their existing platforms while still reaping the benefits and giving their agents more technology and more opportunity.
Yeah. So within the business model, there are three major disruptive elements. The first one is just the cloud-based brokerage concept itself. And what we mean by that is there are no franchise offices scattered across the country that have, you know, duplicated support staff and all the costs associated with having buildings and leases and, you know, no equity in terms of like the quality of training. One office may have great training, another office doesn't have any training. You've got all the problems that come with, you know, that whole structure. eXp is one company being cloud-based, so to speak, allows all agents to be connected in one brokerage. And that changes everything. It changes the caliber of training that can be done on a daily basis, because you've got the best agents in the country leading mastermind discussions, leading classes on all facets of the business. You've got this incredible like ability to collaborate within one company rather than, you know, this whole disconnected like universe of franchise offices. So that's a really big deal. And it's hard to understand from the outside. I think, Wendy, one of your biggest questions when you and I first talked about it was, you said, I remember vividly, you said, I'm an office girl. I took cookies into the office today for my brokers. How do you have culture in an office? Like, I don't get this. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember it, because it is such a shift in mindset. Even Netflix going from getting your DVDs and holding it and touching it,
Yes,
to now it's just online, and what if it's not available to me or something when I'm ready to watch?
yeah.
It's that fear factor of change. Yeah, it's real.
Well, and you know, when I saw this, when Anne showed it to me for the first time, I thought it made perfect sense, because I realized like we're all using Dropbox, we're using Google Drive, we're using the RMLS, for heaven's sakes, which is a giant, you know, database. We're using all these other tools that are all cloud-based, like the tools that I think most of us consider just, you know, the tools we use as our daily part of our daily toolkit in real estate are all cloud-based now, so completely that I found myself questioning the value of the tools that I was being given by my prior brokerages, because a lot of them just didn't work, or they were too expensive, or I could get it elsewhere in a better way. So when I saw this cloud-based model, I thought that just makes so much sense to me, especially when we're all on the go, we're out in the field, we're with our clients. They never come into the office anymore. Right. You know, nobody was coming to the sales meetings at my past two
That
offices.
became a challenge. Yeah, for
But,
sure.
I mean, you can speak to that better than any of us, Wendy, but I noticed that just as an agent.
Yeah, if you don't build a great culture amongst your people, it's easy for them to have an excuse to not come into the office for whatever event you're holding. And
Yeah.
with EXP, we're actually all together apart. I can sit at home in my pajamas with a cup of coffee and still hang out with you guys and
Yeah.
still have conversations and share ideas. So it's an incredible culture of collaboration when we're not even in the same room.
And I think Ann and I have both discovered some people still choose to have offices. It's not, this company is not about just not having an office. Some people want to have an office to go to as a place of business, or they share offices. Some people are finding other ways to get together through happy hours or mastermind groups. That's all good. And there are lots of ways to be creative and to have community. But I think the big concept that is important to understand is that because the company is cloud-based, not only for the nation, but for the entire world. This company is cloud-based. And so it has an incredible ability to expand and also do it without the same overhead that other bricks and mortar and franchise operations have to deal with. So because of that, because there's such incredible efficiency and profitability in this model, the company can give agents a real stake in it in the form of stocks. So that's the number 2 disruptor here that you see. The company makes every agent a stakeholder by giving us stock in the company in a variety of different ways. And we'll get into that more in a bit here. And then the third big disruptive element is revenue sharing. And eXp calls it revenue sharing rather than profit sharing, because profit sharing happens, Wendy, you can explain it actually probably better, but profit sharing is after all other expenses are met in an office, and those expenses can be manipulated and they can vary wildly. eXp is sharing 50% of its top line revenue, or what I think of as gross revenue, back with its own agents. And that's a really big difference. It makes it like exponentially more powerful than any other profit sharing system I've ever seen at Keller Williams or a handful of other companies that I've looked at that have that.
Absolutely. And I will talk about that more when we talk about revenue share, but there is a huge difference if anybody's ever run any kind of company between the top dollar that comes in and what's left at the bottom line.
Yeah.
And Wendy, you would know that just because you've been behind the scenes for so long. So we are one brokerage, so you can literally be licensed in, we're going to cover this too, but you can be licensed in as many states as you want, and you don't pay any more than the one cap that we'll talk about later. So a lot of agents are now becoming more and more licensed in more than one state because we are becoming more transient, if you will. Sometimes we have a vacation home, or we have family in other states and we just know people. Will brought in a gal that's licensed in 3 states, and she's literally selling houses in Montana, selling houses in Washington, lives in Washington, and has a big client database that she still works in Oregon. So
Yeah,
she was paying 3 brokerages, 3 different amounts of fees, and it was fiscally expensive.
Yeah, she said that not only was she paying 3 desk fees literally into 3 different offices. We're friends we were both at Sotheby's at one time, but she was paying into 3 different offices. And she also said that those offices did not all use the same system. So one office had, they were using one transaction management platform like SkySlope. Another office was using a different system. And so that made it 3 times the work for her as an agent that was working in different states too. So she loves the fact that she can work in all those states now, and it's just the same company regardless. You pay one cap regardless. And we've had some other agents join the company through us for the same reason, who are operating in multiple areas.
So we bring up this slide next called Regus, because kind of going back to just office spaces, people are like, well, if I want an office, what do I do? And Regus has partnered with eXp. We get discounted office spaces. There are some free collaborative spaces. There's WeWork spaces. We've all kind of found places that, are even more affordable than we had before at the previous brokerage we were at. So you can totally rent whatever you want. Some people actually own their own spaces, or they partner up with other industry people. So it's not like before, like you can have an office space. It's just that this is not, you know, like you said, the individual franchise offices.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you have then when you come to work at eXp? You've got an avatar to interact with the different departments within the brokerage. So when I look at this screen here, the way that I like to think of this is anything that I need to do at eXp that in the past I would have done at a bricks and mortar brokerage office, here I do it in this virtual world. But it's not like you're just interacting with robots. This is just it's just a user interface. There's a stat we heard somewhere that after face-to-face engagement with another person, using an avatar like this is the next most effective way to communicate and to collaborate. And so there is a huge support staff behind this virtual world at eXp that is there. You know, they're not there 24/7 yet, but the company is moving in that direction. But they are there during normal business hours. So if I need to go into accounting or any other specialized department, if I need tech support for my computer, I can go to a tech outpost and somebody can take command of my computer remotely and fix things. In our old office that Ann and I were in, it would sometimes take a week to get on the IT guy's schedule because they were trying to support over 200 agents. Training is done this way. Large meetings are done this way. We have rooms we can go into to collaborate. It looked so goofy to me the first time I ever saw it. And then once I experienced how fast we could get the information that we needed, you know, it really changes your mind, and you come around and feeling like it's the coolest thing ever pretty quickly.
Yeah. And we have over 400 people operating like in staff at any given time. I like to give this story example because I went on vacation and was in a completely different time zone when I went away with my family. And I had a very time sensitive accounting tax situation going on in January. And I woke up and it was, you know, 2 hours ahead of Pacific time. And had I been at my old brokerage, I would have had to wait till 9 o'clock Pacific time for this gal to get in so I could scan her documents that had to get done on us. It was I won't go into the reasons why, but I woke up that morning, I was drinking my coffee and I was like, man, I want to get out and play with my family. And it occurred to me, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, even though it's 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, Pacific time, it's open. Like eXp is open for business. So I went into the cloud. I instantly, within 5 minutes, talked to this person. They got my documentation done and they helped me get it off my computer, whatever. And it was all done and I was off for the day. Otherwise I would have had to stay in, you know, realtors, we have that whole like guilt, go on vacation. In our room, we've all been there and we're like, we got to either write an offer or get something done. But this was just an example of like, I need my office brokerage to handle something expediently. And had I been at my previous brokerage, it wouldn't have gotten done that way. It would have been a little clunkier and I would have been consumed by it all morning. So. Well,
and you know, one other thing I'll add real fast is, have any of you ever gone to a real estate convention somewhere and you go to some panel discussion and you hear some great people on a stage together that wouldn't ordinarily be in the same room, and you think, wow, that was amazing. I just heard this like, you know, presentation on how to do the ultimate open house, and there was some guy from Alaska and another guy from Florida, and it was incredible. Thank God I spent thousands of dollars to go to Las Vegas and be in this convention center, you know, or wherever it's happening. But within eXp, because it's just one company, you know, for the world now, that's happening every day, where they've got the best agents pouring into the training and guiding it. And it's incredible, the caliber of information sharing that goes on here. It's like a fire hose. It's kind of mind blowing.
So we're going to talk about the platform because we just talked about the eXp platform, and we want to talk to you about the company called Virbela, which a lot of us aren't familiar with who are not in eXp. But eXp bought Virbela right after I moved over in 2018. And why that is significant is because, as you can see, we operate our entire 35,000 agent brokerage in that cloud-based platform we just kind of showed you a sneak peek of. Well, Virbela is a real company separate from eXp, but EXPI World Holdings, where we all have our stocks, owns Virbela. And as you can see during COVID, Virbela actually leases out spaces to other industries. So Stanford University, the US military, Event Farm. There's a lot of companies that have raced over to eXp, especially during COVID, and said, we have a company, we can no longer fly our people around the country. We need an online space that's as good at productivity and meetings and conferences as we do meeting in person. So over COVID, if you guys noticed, our stocks have shot up through the roof because we have so many companies partnering with Virbela, which EXPI World Holdings, our stock, which we're all owners of, have now been benefiting from. So when EXP says they share their revenue back to their agents, we're also talking about the revenue that Virbela profits. So now you're not just talking about a real estate brokerage, you're talking about a technology company that we get to be owners of and profit from. In fact, back in August, a bunch of us saw a big bonus hit our revenue counts, and that was due in part just to Virbela's technology profits. So when you are an owner of EXP, you are also now an owner of Virbela, and that's a big deal. So I just wanted to take the time to explain that, because the technology that our company owns and is partnered with is going outside of the real estate industry, and it's becoming a big part of why our explosion in the growth stock is happening and will continue to be as well.
Well, and I can add to that, Ann, when you mentioned in my introduction that I had some conversations with Compass. Some of you know Compass probably from the real estate industry press. Compass is powered by a lot of venture capital money, and they make a lot of real estate news. They're very cool. They're very sexy. They're growing in all the major metro areas. And I think eventually they'll probably get to Oregon. They haven't pushed into the smaller markets yet. But what I learned when I had a series of meetings with them is that they have a larger concept too for their company, where it's not just real estate. They want to control they want to have they want to create value by being involved in all the other facets of the whole home buying process, and then eventually, reward the agents to some degree for that. But they haven't even gone public yet. Agents can't have stock there. And a friend of mine who is a Compass agent told me that she already feels like it's too late. She said, I'm too late. I didn't get any stock options or anything. So it was fascinating to me to see that eXp is already executing on that same strategy, and we're already being rewarded for it in a very real way. Our revenue share and our stock has jumped up significantly just because of that.
Okay, so we're going to keep moving here through some of the other parts of the brokerage. So a lot of us love trainings. We like to be involved with teachings and all that stuff. That's the one thing you can do at eXp is gorge on training. We have over 100 hours of live training. They actually incorporate a lot of agents into that training. So if you're really good at some kind of specialty, they want you in training. They want you to be a part of masterminds. It's almost overwhelming how much training you can do on a daily, weekly basis at eXp, but there is no lack of training whatsoever, even for brand new agents, for agents who are trying to find niches to be a part of. Every Friday, they have the entire board of directors leadership do a whole update on the company, and you can sit in on that. And they talk about all the updates, all the things that are happening at eXp. It's pretty cool to go to those because they talk about how they just, they're opening up South Africa just this week. They're, the stock's doing well, the this, the that. These companies are all partnering and launching with eXp. So it's always really fascinating to listen into the transparency of the leadership calls. If you become an icon agent, or if you want to listen to icon agents, these are people that do a production level that get rewarded a lot in stocks with the company. You can sit in on those kind of panels as well. So lots and lots of training that you can just sit in the comfort of your home and listen to. A couple of things I want to show you. These are actually screenshots I took. I don't know if you guys know who Ricky Carruth is. He was the #1 RE/MAX agent in Alabama, still is. And 3 years ago, he did a viral video that went viral about why he would never join eXp. Well, Ricky joined eXp about 4 months ago, and he's very excited to be here now. So there was some misinformation that he must have gotten, but at any point, he does tremendous coaching. He's actually a free coach. You can follow him anywhere. You don't have to be at eXp. But he is really an impressive coach. He does a lot of coaching. And this actually was a screen capture before he joined eXp. And then on the right up here is on Sunday nights, we have Real Estate 101 classes. And I actually, even though I've been doing this for 20 years, I actually go to the Real Estate 101 classes every now and then, especially if this gal, Jeannie Williams, shows up, because the fundamentals always apply. And she's a real estate coach. And she actually, when she joined eXp and about a year ago, she got relicensed and started selling real estate all over again. She had been, not selling for like 8 years and just coaching. And she sold like 36 houses her first year. And so she taught this great class. I just sat there with a glass of wine in the comfort of my own home, listening how she got 36 properties sold in her first year back in real estate after being out for 8 years. So lots of amazing training. This is also just another kind of screen capture. We have a luxury training institute. They bring in a lot of coaches from outside the industry or even in the industry that aren't associated at all with eXp. So they have like the #1 Pinterest coach come in and do training. We have real estate 101 classes happening all the time called Fast Start. So
well, Dan, I just want to add here, because you've got this slide up here with the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing.
Oh yeah.
I think that's regarded as one of the best third-party training courses for the luxury home segment of the market, and they do training for Keller Williams and a lot of other companies. I mean, anybody can take their training if you meet simple requirements for their courses, which are pretty easy to meet. But that just reminded me that just about a week ago, we heard news that the biggest luxury brokerage or the biggest luxury team from RE/MAX in Canada just joined eXp. For 14 or 15 years, they've been the highest producing team in Canada. And at times they've been #1 in the world for RE/MAX at like $4 billion in cumulative sales. They dominate the luxury market and they just joined eXp. And that's not an uncommon story. We're hearing more stories like that all the time from all segments of the market.
Absolutely.
So we kind of look at eXp as having like 3 total platforms. So we kind of showed you the one that looks like the avatars where you run around and go to the classes and the trainings and the departments. Then we have this thing called Workplace, which I did not realize that Facebook had a completely different platform for Facebook called Workplace. And what Facebook created for just businesses is a platform that looks and acts just like Facebook. You don't get on that platform from your Facebook app. It's a completely different social app. But this is where all 35,000 of us agents collectively, daily, 24/7 collaborate. And Facebook has told us that eXp is the #1 company in the world to utilize Workplace. We're so interactive that we're rated as their highest used company that uses Workplace. I will say I pretty much have Workplace up on my computer at all times. I like to interact this way. They give company announcements, videos. You can go on-demand libraries. There's also a referral group, and I want to speak to that because there are 3 referral groups that I know of, and they have tracked this. There are over 70 referrals slung back and forth in a 3-day period, meaning because we're 35,000 agents all over the country, if you sat on that platform and you're in any major metropolitan area, you're probably going to see a referral pass through. I just went on a $1.6 million listing appointment yesterday from an eXp agent out of Texas. We're working with a buyer right now up to $1 million. That is actually, Erica, don't we have like 2 buyers from just recently from 2 eXp agents, something like that. It's been pretty amazing to see the referrals. I thought that was something I was going to miss out on in my last brokerage. I think I did like 4 referrals a year in my last brokerage. But this platform, if you watch for it, it's pretty powerful to see the referrals go back and forth. There's also another referral group in there. When you hit icon status, that's a whole other level of referrals that starts to happen, which is huge. So,
hey, I got to tell you guys a quick story. I just became a certified mentor within the company, and I'm working with 2 brand new agents. And one of them, literally last week, I said, you need to get on Workplace, join some groups that look interesting. We talked about different special interest groups that he could join. And I said, make sure you join the referral groups. There's a couple of groups that are focused 100% on referrals. He just got his first listing lead end of last week. I went with him. I'm going to help him with it. We went and met the clients yesterday. It's just outside of Portland. It's about a $700,000 listing. They're working with us. They're not competing. And he's a brand new agent. He was at another company for about 2 weeks and it didn't go well. He felt abandoned. And so like he's doing backflips, and it's so much fun to see him like succeeding this quickly. And it's
awesome.
because of Workplace.
Yeah. And so our last kind of platform, so we have 3. So we just saw the second one. This is what we call our central nervous system. It's called eXp Enterprise. So it always feels like Starship Enterprise. But this is where you can check all your transactions. You can get the latest education calendar. You can check your stock awards. You can get anywhere fast on this kind of platform. And most of us are kind of jumping in and out of this platform on the regular, but this is kind of like your central nervous system of all things eXp. And then most of us are familiar with SkySlope. Every company out there has some kind of paperless transaction service. So we use SkySlope. A lot of companies do. And marketing and branding. So if you don't have your own marketing and branding, you can easily use a lot of their templated marketing pieces. They add to them almost every week or every month. And you can go from anything as simple as business cards, brochures, flyers, social media posts. They add to it pretty regularly, and they update us on Workplace of all the latest changes. I know some people who exclusively use all of their stuff because they just like the look of it and they kind of place all their stuff in it. You don't have to use it, obviously, but there is a lot in there. So if you're kind of just looking for like listing presentations, buyer presentations, flyers, things like that, we use some of the flyer templates and social media posts from time to time. But they pretty much their goal is to kind of be a one-stop shop for all your marketing if you want to utilize their branding and marketing materials.
Yeah, we should mention that the company actually is in the process right now of finishing a refresh on the logo, and it looks really good. So the logo you see in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, that's in the process of changing right now. It's a little simpler and just kind of more elegant looking. It's going to be used worldwide as well. But this slide is important to me because right before we joined eXp, I was running a Boomtown site. Those of you that are familiar with Boomtown, like I know Jeff on this call, he is well aware of what Boomtown is a very expensive lead generating platform and a CRM system. So that was the way that we were running our Boomtown site for my team just before joining eXp. It cost us about $42,000 a year when you added up the cost for the platform, the version that we were using. We had a call center integrated with it. And then the amount of money that we were spending on pay-per-click ads, and Facebook ads, and things like that, it was about $42,000 a year to operate. And when I joined eXp, I was able to completely shut that down because we're provided with a system from a company called Conversion, which has a flagship product called KV Core. And every eXp agent gets that included as just part of their $50 technology fee that we pay monthly. And so far, I think it's every bit as good as Boomtown. We love it.
All right, so we're going to kind of start transitioning here pretty soon, but one of the things we want to talk about is healthcare. So as most of us know, being self-employed, real estate agents are on their own to find their healthcare. And eXp decided about a year ago that they were going to put together the most comprehensive healthcare program that existed in the marketplace at the least amount of money. And I remember at the time, like, I didn't need healthcare. I'm a big believer in people having it and getting it and it being affordable. And we all watched this carefully, right? Well, before it came on the scene, and we were being very skeptical of how this healthcare program would turn out.
Yep.
And so there's some people on this call, I believe, that have the healthcare and had saved quite a bit of money. Leslie, were you one of them? No, okay. There's a bunch of people that had signed up for it. So the great thing about this is that they offer a few different variety plans and they cover a lot. And so when you're looking at healthcare, it's kind of scary and daunting out there, but their goal was to create a plan that we all could collectively, pull from. I personally don't use it because I'm on my husband's plan, but I know a lot of agents who use this program and they save a lot of money, and it's even more comprehensive for them than some other health, whatever they were using before. So that's been really great for a lot of people.
I fully investigated it, and it would save me at 53 years old over $200 a month if I switched over to eXp's plan.
Awesome.
So that's significant.
Yeah.
Well, so this slide is just showing here, we already kind of touched on this, but regardless of where you work and how many areas you cover, you pay one cap no matter what. So for agents that are doing business, in Oregon and Washington, or Oregon and Arizona, wherever, it doesn't matter. The company right now is exploding worldwide. The growth is really starting to accelerate right now because about 6 months ago, Sotheby's hired a gentleman named Michael Valdez, who previously, for 15 years prior to joining eXp, he was the
meeting.
He was the person in charge of international growth and expansion for Realty. And I know many of you know Realty owns Sotheby's International Realty. They own Better Homes and Gardens, Coldwell Banker. Many of like the biggest marquee real estate brands in the world are owned by Realty. So eXp now has the person spearheading our international growth that managed growth for and exploded growth for all those companies for 15 years. And so we see it now really starting to take off. The company pushed into Mexico recently, India now, South Africa was announced today, France, Portugal. I mean, it's just exploding. And this guy brings such incredible credibility at all segments of the market, especially the luxury segment of the market because of his profile.
Yeah, that was a big deal when Michael Valdez came on board. It was kind of a game changer.
Absolutely.
Once again, and he's just exploding the international growth. So Mexico just opened. South Africa was just announced this week. He says he has over 30 countries with the leadership that have stepped forward to say we want to be a part of eXp. He could open 30 countries overnight if he had, if he could. And
the capacity,
so
right?
Time getting all this done correctly. But wouldn't it be interesting if we could all be one big brokerage in the world? What if we could sell in other countries someday? I mean, that's a real possibility the way eXp is set up. So.
Well, and again, as an agent, you might think, well, I'm not, I just want to do my business, whatever. I don't know that I'm interested in all that stuff. But the company gives you stock regardless for various accomplishments throughout the year that most agents are just going to do no matter what. And so as the company expands worldwide, that we all expect the stock will continue to increase in value too. Michael Valdez thinks it can be the biggest company ever seen, by a magnitude of like 10. He thinks it could be 1 million agents. I don't think Keller Williams ever got past 170,000 or thereabouts. Isn't that right, Wendy?
So this is kind of the brokerage in a box, if you will. And those were the tools, the resources to operate your entire business off of. So we're going to jump into now the fees and the stocks and the fun stuff that everybody's, getting real excited about now that they know this brokerage model can handle their business. So really quickly, we want to go over the fee structure. We're competitive at an 80-20 split. We're a $16,000 cap. And after that, it's 100% commissions. And I liken it to just say it's $85 a month to have real estate in a box or real estate in the cloud, because between your $50 a month tech fee and your 35-month university fee, which adds up to $85 a month, you pretty much get access to everything we just covered. There is a startup fee of $149 that covers your first month of $85. And then the cool thing is our E&O insurance caps at $500 a year. At my last brokerage, it didn't cap, and I didn't even know how much I was paying till I did the math, and I was kind of overwhelmed by that. So it's $40 every transaction closed towards risk management, which is also known as E&O, and it caps at $500. So that's pretty brilliant. And then it's a $25 broker review fee. So super competitive fees across the board. And now let's talk about what ownership looks like at this company. This is where the fun begins. Well, it's been fun, but.
So that's a slide. eXp started out as what they call a penny stock, and it uplisted to the NASDAQ. This was all part of Glenn Sanford's vision. It uplisted to become a blue chip stock. It had to go through an extensive vetting process, and the company is now, it's regarded as a blue chip company. And my brother actually used to be a stockbroker. He told me that he's noticing now that a lot of the big institutional investors are starting to buy and hold eXp. That's a really big deal when that starts happening. This is Glenn Sanford ringing the bell on the NASDAQ exchange when the company, was validated as a blue chip stock on the NASDAQ. And you can see here the stock just keeps growing. Like all of us are just kind of blown away. It's gone from literally being in the pennies to today it closed at, actually it was $61, I think, at the end of the day.
Yep. So let me just kind of break down as simply as I can the stock equity opportunities, because there's quite a bit. Let me just also clarify that this is not stock options. So for those of you who kind of cringe when you hear stock options are very hard to exercise, and they have to have certain, factors involved. This is actually awarded stock. So basically how you can earn stock is you get $200 worth of shares on the very first transaction you close. So right out of the gates, you close your first transaction, you get $200 worth of stock in that month. And it actually, every anniversary date that you close, so like, let's say you join eXp October 1st, you close your first deal November, by the 1 year anniversary, you get that all over again. So every year you're at eXp, your first time you close a deal after your anniversary, you get stock. You get $400 worth of shares when you fully cap. So if you cap and you pay the $16,000, you get $400 worth of shares. If you attract an agent, if you're excited about eXp and they join and that agent closes their first transaction, you actually get $400 worth of shares as well on their anniversary. So there's these different milestones that just sort of happen naturally when you get into eXp. You can buy the stock at a discount. So this is pretty powerful. It's called the Agent Equity Program. It's where you can enroll in 5% of your commissions, can buy the stock at a 10% discount. So for a lot of people who joined eXp and started this right when we joined and the stock was anywhere between 11 and 19 bucks a share, you know, nowadays, I just sat and had drinks with a couple of agents who joined last year, and they both, one of them cashed out her stock to build a fence up around her house, and the other one cashed out some of it to do some more improvements to her house. And we were kind of just like, this is like a no-brainer, you know, like the number that they cashed out to do what they needed to do, and they still had a ton of stocks, and that was just after being at the company. Well, actually, one of them was at the company less than a year. She hasn't even hit her 1 year marker. So there's that, which is really powerful because agents they kind of stink at saving money and paying their taxes, as we sort of joke. In fact, one of the agents I had drinks with the other night said, I suck at saving. So eXp has been the best thing for me as far as that. The other program we're going to talk about is called the Icon program. So if you're an agent who sells a certain number of properties per year, maybe you do it already, or maybe you aspire to do it. We have a lot of agents right now. We have 4 agents that I know of that are like really close to iconing, and we're kind of helping push them to get to this. But this is kind of the breakdown. This is like the power of this model and why so many agents are really running to this company who do production. And this is actually one of the main reasons I joined the company, because I was turning a certain ripe old age and I was adding up all the money I'd paid all my brokerages over the year. And I was recognizing when I looked at eXp, I thought, if I go to eXp, I'm going to be an icon every year because I do production that matches this. So I would be leaving money on the table if I didn't join eXp, because this is a pretty powerful investment strategy that I'm just going to go out and sell houses no matter what I do, right? Like I could stay at my current brokerage and pay them a whole bunch of money, or I could go to eXp and actually make the cap that I pay into the company come back to me tenfold. And I can tell you today, it has definitely done that. So basically how it works is you cap, and then you theoretically sell 20 more homes is how the math kind of works. And so when you get to that point, you qualify in production to have your cap come back to you, and they break it down into different segments. So it's a production and a cultural milestone. And there's some people on this call tonight that have actually reached icon as well. And basically you cap, you get 12,000. It does vest for 3 years, but then you go to some of the conferences. And this year we've all done virtual conferences. You get your $4,000 stocks in your cultural milestones, which is super easy to do. You just show up and you just be a part of the action. And that stock is 4,000. You can actually cash it out right away if you want to, or you don't have to. I didn't. I just left it in the account. But anything that's considered awarded is vested for 3 years. And if you choose to be a part of going back to the Agent Equity Program and buy the stock at a 5% discount, you can cash that out the next day. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know where you find 10% back in your money in the marketplace. And for those of us who have been a part of it, it's astounding how it's added up.
Well, and think about the companies out there that still charge royalty fees on top of the fees that you pay in for your desk fee toward your cap. You pay enough. Like when I was at Sotheby's for 5 years, I paid 6% on every single transaction. You never cap on that. So I love the idea. If you choose to enroll in this, you don't have to, but in this equity program, you can take 5% of every commission you pay and buy stock at a 10% discount. To me, that's just better business.
Yeah.
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first. Yeah. And I look at, we're going to talk about the highway, the 3-lane highway we look at this company here in a second. But this is a pretty powerful, compelling model for agents, who do this kind of production just every day, every year. And it really does add up and is significant. So Wendy, why don't you kind of jump in here? We're going to talk about the final cherry on top at eXp. And Wendy, you're going to break down kind of what is revenue share. Everybody kind of hears about it. They have some ideas or theories on it. They think it's like profit share at KW. Wendy, is this anything like the profit share model at KW?
Not even close.
Not
No.
even close.
It's so much more financially rewarding. We talked earlier in the conversation about the top dollar versus the bottom dollar. There's a big difference between those $2. And the majority of my career, I have been a recruiter. That's what I get paid to do, is to build companies. And what is amazing with eXp is that you can actually build an organization and capture the benefits of being the owner of a company without any investment or risk or liability, just by attracting agents to the company. And having done this for over 30 years, I know for a fact that agents come to companies because of the other agents who are already there. So when, you can say, oh gosh, Wendy, you did such a great job recruiting and growing that company. But the truth is, you get a few good key people on board and they do all the work. They're attracting other agents to the company, and the only one financially benefiting is the owner, which always just rubbed me, because I knew there were agents in our company responsible for dozens of other agents coming on board, and they got nothing for that. With eXp, you will be rewarded. And I love this little diagram that Anne put together here, that just, now you have 3 highways, 3 lanes of income opportunity: selling houses, stock and equity, and then revenue share. And so the day you sell your last house, your income does not have to stop. If you think about a traditional brokerage model, starting at the top with the international company, and then the regions, and then the individual franchise owners, and then the managers and recruiters, and then the staff, all of those people get paid by the agent. So every dollar you're earning and paying to the company, you're contributing to support all of those people and their profit. And with eXp, we've eliminated all of those middlemen. We have the international company, and then we have the agent. And all of that money that was paid to all of those other people in a traditional model is going directly to the support and maintenance and training for the agents, and then back into revenue share and being paid to the agent just as if you were an owner of the company. And it's not complicated, although at first glance it feels a little complicated. It's just when it's something new. But the power of revenue share is huge. This little chart shows what you would have to have invested in a saving or somewhere in a savings account, earning 5% interest to get these monthly payouts. So if you wanted to make $1,000 a month in passive income, you would need $240,000 earning 5% interest. And I don't even know where you could get 5% interest right now anywhere, to get $1,000 a month. So you have choices. You can save $240,000, or you can attract a couple of agents to eXp to earn $1,000 a month. So we can go through the actual numbers of how it works. So this is a great starter explanation. For every agent that you attract to the company who names you as their sponsor, you can earn up to $2,800 a year from the commissions that they pay to eXp. It doesn't come out of the agent's pocket. So that's a very important point to understand. And it is not predicated on whether eXp is profitable or not. It is only the dollars coming in because the agent you attracted had a closing. If they have a closing, you get a percentage of the dollars that they pay to the company until they cap. And the maximum payout for somebody who is a capper is $2,800 a year. The reason that this model is sustainable is because you have to earn the right to get paid on anybody who you didn't personally attract to the company. So you will always get paid on every single person that you attract to the company who names you as a sponsor. However, to get paid on the people they attract and the people they attract, and to move through those tiers, you have to attract in increments of 5. So if you have 3 people that you've attracted, you're getting paid on those 3 people. If you have 5 people that you've attracted, you're getting paid on those 5, and you're getting paid on anybody they attract. If you have 10 people that you've attracted, you're getting paid on the people you've attracted, the people they've attracted, and the people they've attracted. So now you're getting paid on 3 tiers. And you have the opportunity to get paid on up to 7 tiers of people in your organization. And Glenn Sanford is absolutely a genius when he put this system together. If you notice here on tier 1, the maximum amount that you can make on a capping agent is $2,800 a year. On tier 2, you can actually make $3,200 a year on those people. So our agents have a definite motivation to help the people that they sponsor to attract other agents. Your sponsor wants you to attract agents because they're actually going to make more money off of those people than you are. So it was a brilliant effort at focused collaboration where agents want to help each other to attract other agents. And here are all the levels spelled out for you here on what you get paid on each level, with the highest you can see being on tier 7, because naturally tier 7 is going to be the most people, right? Because it's compounding. You attract and those people attract and those people attract. The example I really like to use, and I want to keep this short because I know we're running over and everybody's starting to yawn, including me. But I think it's really important to understand this one financial perspective. If you wanted to have $36,000 a year in passive income in your retirement, you would need to save $900,000 and have that in a savings account. And you could withdraw 4% a year, which would ensure that that $900,000 lasts you until you die. With eXp Realty, you could simply attract 6 agents between now and retirement and help each of them attract 1 more agent, and you would make $36,000 a year in passive income. That sounds like a much easier path than saving $900,000 after taxes. So it's a powerful system. Investigate it. Watch whatever videos the person invited you here today has sent you, and try to understand it because it's worth your while.
Yeah, well said. It at first glance, it's not always the easiest thing to understand, but that was well said. And certainly, like what Wendy said, we can always provide you guys with more breakdown and video detail that'll help understand it. But that was kind of a good, synopsis of that. So we're not just a recruiting company, are we? We actually are bringing over some pretty big hitters. It's pretty exciting to be at this company, you guys, because it seems like almost every week we're seeing some of the best real estate agents in the country moving over to eXp. We're seeing teams, we're seeing brokerages. It's almost like we wait for the updates on Workplace or wherever.
Yeah, so
and
true.
We share it with each other because we're like, oh my gosh, look who just joined, it's powerful. And we're a freight train going fast. So, whether you choose to jump in or whatnot, it's happening. And I can tell you that when I joined eXp in Oregon 2 years ago, we had 89 agents and everybody's like, eXp who? And now we're at 728 agents in Oregon. So just kind of shows you the power of the growth here. And we're getting lots of accolades and a lot of really good press. So,
and I think it's important to mention that the company works beautifully for agents at all levels of production. There's a lot of resources for solo agents, but there's incredible resources for teams. And like you mentioned earlier, even entire brokerages are coming onto this platform because it works for them too. So I think there's a place for everybody in this model.
So before we wrap up tonight, couple things. There is eXp Con. That's one of our conferences we do usually live prior to COVID. We fly somewhere, but we learned really quickly when COVID hit, we had a shareholders event that was supposed to happen in Florida and they canceled it. And within 3 weeks, they put together a complete conference. Like you literally walk around with your avatar and go to all the classes. And even the event spaces looked like you were physically in a conference area where they have all the, you know, what do you call those? Where the vendor rooms and all that.
Like vendor booths, yeah.
Yeah, so we can always invite you to and get you a guest pass, and it's like 3 days packed full. We had 15,000 agents show up to the last one in the cloud, and they've just got packed full classes all day long of all different classes. That's happening here in a few weeks. And if you are interested in joining eXp, get with the person who invited you tonight. There is an application process that you go to join.exprealty.com, and well worth becoming a shareholder and looking into joining eXp. Do you guys have any questions we can clarify or answer before we hop off tonight? If you're on, if you want to put it in the chat box or unmute yourself, you're welcome to.
I see somebody asking for a link to the video, so we'll try to share that. You guys can spread it around.
Yeah, let us know if you guys want a video, more clarity on any of the points here. We can certainly provide that. Is there a breakdown for husband-wife teams? Absolutely. We'll get that to you.
Well, is there a break? So is there a discount? Yes, there is.
Yep.
There absolutely is.
And also, by the way, you guys, if you are a part of a team or on a team, there is breakdown for team. There's more, what do you call it, a half cap for team members. And if you're husband and wife, they can put you under one roof, so to speak, so you're not paying 2 caps. So yeah, that can all be discussed very, very simply.
No questions?
Man, we did good. We got no questions.
Look at that. Everybody's asleep. I get it.
Sorry, we try to keep this to about an hour, you guys, but we started a bit late, and there's 3 of us that are pretty passionate about this. So thanks for hanging in there. I think only 1 person dropped off. I've been watching the counter.
Yeah, it's been good. Oh, Jeff, welcome. He said today's his first day.
Welcome, Jeff.
Awesome.
All right, well, this was fun, you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. We know you're all busy out there and working your carcasses off. So we love to share. We love to share this model, and we love to grow with you. We're excited endlessly about this model. It's every day. It's exciting to be here. So we really appreciate you taking the time to look at this. And if you're joining eXp, we're super excited to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Ann.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Questions, but you guys are all welcome to pop off now.
All right.
Pop it off. Good night.
Good night.
Get your beauty sleep. Nighty night.